What do you think were some really big things that caused these results to happen?
I think the most important thing was accepting that it wasn't going to be one or two or three levers, that it was going to be like a lot, and incrementally making those changes.
Right.
Because there's no one magic answer.
There's hundreds of magic answers. Hey, Jen, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jen Berman. Wow. I am a business owner, a lawyer, a mom. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and sort of a constant juggling act.
What were some of the autoimmune or mystery illness symptoms that you struggled with?
I had, I've known that I have a high unspecified ANA for a long time. So sort of I have this generalized autoimmune something type diagnosis that pops in and out, but definitely diagnoses of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, mast cell activation syndrome, dysautonomia, and fibromyalgia. So
okay. So a lot of people, and we're going to go right into this, which is a lot of people don't even realize Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is associated with autoimmunity. Can you tell people what it is?
So Ehlers-Danlos they're pretty sure it's genetic. There's one marker they haven't found yet, and that happens to be for the type that I'm diagnosed with, which is hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So the most obvious thing is all these cute little party tricks that I can do. My ligaments don't work right. So I'm very bendy. And that causes all sorts of joint subluxations and pain and problems in that regard.
And people with Ehlers-Danlos could have really easily dislocated shoulders, joints that could be dislocated. And yes, there's party tricks involved, but there could also be more risk of injury and pain.
I have lots of subluxations, like my ribs won't stay in place.
And subluxation just means it kind of pops out of place, just so you guys know.
Like a mini dislocation, right?
My thing is that people have often asked, why do so many people with autoimmunity so many people with Ehlers-Danlos also have autoimmune issues? And it's because there is a genetic component to autoimmune disease. And so to me, Ehlers-Danlos is just in the spectrum of one of the genetic autoimmune diseases that manifests in tendons and joints. So it's real. I link it in one of the family of genetic autoimmune related diseases. Now, that being said, you got mast cell activation syndrome, which a lot of people don't even know it's linked with autoimmunity. A lot of people with autoimmunity have more mast cell activation, which is hyperallergic reactions, okay? And then dysautonomia is another one. Another name for it would be POTS, and that would be another diagnosis people don't even realize is related with autoimmunity, where there's constant drops, highs and lows of blood pressure, a heart rate, and it can cause people to faint, dizzy, nauseated, palpitations. Could be a huge problem for a lot of people. And last but not least, fibromyalgia, another orphan like mystery disease that people are like, oh, it's a basket diagnosis for all these undiagnosed symptoms. No, I actually think that at some point in the future, we're going to be diagnosing as a specific autoimmune disorder. For sure. So all these are what I call mystery illnesses that people don't realize are linked with autoimmunity. So and
Maggie, I didn't even remember to tell you PCOS because it fell that far down my list.
And when I teach about hormones, I'm like, people, if you have PCOS, that's one of the most common patterns that's associated with people with autoimmunity.
Yep.
Okay, I can't make this stuff up. Thank you for being my poster child of mystery illnesses.
I forgot that one.
Okay. All right, let's throw that one in.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were symptom-wise your biggest frustrations before you joined the program? Like what symptoms were the biggest? What kind of impact did it have?
Pain and fatigue. So I just didn't go through a day ever not in pain. And I was one of those people who really pushed through, and I still did a lot and was really productive. And I would sort of but I'm not sure that it even helped, right? Because I would just get up and I would be in pain and I would ignore it and I would go through my day. And by the time I'd get home, or I was home for much of this because of COVID, but by the time I'd get through an 8, 9, 10-hour day, I was comatose, and it was rinse repeat.
Well, I mean, full-time mom, full-time employment, full-time business owner, and full-time mystery illness person. All of the above, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of those pieces.
So if you're educated, you've worked on this with your health a lot, what kind of answers, what kind of medical frustrations did you get with these multiple diagnoses? What was your medical frustration with the care and that you had done prior to this program?
I mean, it was pretty awful. I mean, it definitely got to the point, the psychological elements was probably the worst of it at all, because, I hadn't felt well really, I feel better right now today than I have for the vast majority of my life, to be honest, for years and years and years. And I would go to these doctors and, it would go from anywhere between like, there's nothing wrong with you, go away, to, of course there's something wrong, but we don't understand what it is and I can't help you. Neither category really helped. And ultimately, at least relative to my EDS, and also finding you, it was me in the middle of the night. I'm a lawyer and I also have an MBA. And I became like a closet, medical type person too, because I would read journal articles like late into the night.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out, and eventually I got to EDS, and then I found a clinic, and that sort of was the first step towards my recovery.
Now that you've been in the program for a while, you just graduated from the program actually recently, a 2-month online program. What is so damn different about my approach in our program that really drew you to us?
We didn't have to have the answer first. Right. So I felt like so much of like going through my whole medical saga and journey has been like, we have to find this wrong thing. And once you've proven to me that you fit in this box of, something being wrong, then I can help you.
With medication or surgery.
Yeah. I mean, and if you can't figure out, we can't get you into that box, we can't help you. And so as I was first exploring and listening to stuff, and I'm a little bit of a skeptic. I mean, I like to understand how things work.
Bring it on, girl.
I know, right?
Bring it.
But I was at the point where I was like, okay, this doesn't make logical sense to me that I have to be sicker before I can get help. And that was what was different, is you were like, and I was listening to things and stuff before I got to know you, was this idea that like, all right, there's a unifying theory to what goes wrong in the human body, and there are basic principles that can make it better. And I was really attracted to that idea. I was like, okay, bring it. Let me see if you're going to explain it to me, and if I buy it, then I'll do it. And I did.
What I'm hearing is that your skeptic brain thought and your scientific brain thought, for sure, there's something tying all this together. There must be some universal ways to deal with this. Your skeptic brain thought, is that solution really out there somewhere? Does anybody really have this together? And so you approached it with the scientific and skeptical brain and say, prove it to me that these 5 triggers, 5 pillars of Transform really actually attacked all these underlying causes and pulled it together. You are just graduated. You said fatigue and pain were your biggest symptoms. Where are you now with your results 2 months later? What are your results?
It's pretty extraordinary. So I haven't had pain medicine in probably 2 or 3 weeks, which is unbelievable to me. I mean, even as I'm saying it, now I'm not going to say I haven't had pain, but between what I'm doing in the program and different, modalities, I do acupuncture, I walk in a pool, I do a lot of things. It's under control, which is just unbelievable to me. Also, some of the things that I didn't even realize were bothering me as much as they were, I was having hormonal swings that kind of were lower on the list because there was so much else going on.
Low on the list for you, maybe not for other people in the household.
Yeah. My husband notices.
Woo! What did the Mr. notice?
He likes me better. I'm apparently a nicer person now.
Well, Mr. Incredible made you cauliflower gnocchi the other night.
Mr. Incredible did make me cauliflower gnocchi. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean,
that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's pretty great. But I was like not the nicest person to live with at all. And so I was just moody and just didn't feel well, and pain and these big monthly swings, fatigue. I mean, I was sleeping, oh gosh, by the time I got to weekends, easily 12 to 14 hours on the weekend, each night, not over the course of the weekend. And that kind of disrupts family life more than a little bit.
When you say, so fatigue is way better, pain is way down, and relationships have really improved because your irritability is way down.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So when was the last time you went 3 weeks with this level of low pain where you didn't have to do any pain medication? How long you suffered with pain, and when was the last time you had 3 weeks of almost pain-free?
Suffered with pain since puberty. I'm not sure that I ever went 3 weeks almost pain-free in all of that time.
I'm so excited.
It's true. It's true. It's pretty amazing. I looked up the other day and I was like, wait, Haven't touched.
And
I mean, like Maggie, I was on Dilaudid while pregnant, like under pain management clinic, that level of just severe chronic pain.
and how many people with autoimmune and mystery illness out there is being labeled as drug seekers when you don't even want to be on these freaking pain meds? You really wanted to be on all that Dilaudid while pregnant?
No, it wasn't and the only reason they talked me into it is they were like, all of your other vitals are like, you're putting your baby under too much stress.
Yeah. What do you think were some really big things that caused these results to happen? What were the biggest levers?
Yeah. So I'll go over what the biggest levers were, but I think the most important thing was accepting that it wasn't going to be 1 or 2 or 3 levers, that it was going to be like a lot, and incrementally making those changes.
Right.
Because there's no one magic answer.
There's hundreds of magic answers.
There are hundreds of magic answers. And as we went through the program, I think I said this to you at one point towards the end, it was like every week I was like, are we going to find another thing wrong with me? But like every week there was something to fix.
And I love switching that mindset around to say, are we going to find more things that I can do to actually turn this around?
Well, and that's sort of where it got to, right? So, I mean, I think the huge thing, I had been on thyroid medication since I was 15 years old. It wasn't right. Like, it wasn't the right levels. That was a big thing to get. I wasn't converting.
Huge. You could have been taking those meds forever and be told the dose was right, like you had been, and yet you realized none of it was actually getting activated or converted to active thyroid hormone for you.
Right. So that was huge. Blood sugar balancing, life-changing.
Wait, you're so smart, and I'm sure you came in as a skeptic. You had blood sugar licked.
Oh yeah, I totally did. It was no problem, and they were already gluten-free, but there were a lot of gluten-free cookies happening. A lot.
I would say 90% of people enter this program. 90% of our audience is saying, "No, it can't be blood sugar. I'm fine. It's not so bad. I'm eating really healthy." And I'm sure you probably fell into that category too. I was gluten-free and da-da-da, but
I was gluten-free. You can do a lot of damage on a gluten-free diet.
Well, it's like the vegan diet that's on beer and french fries.
Yeah, right.
I'm vegan.
Absolutely. So, I mean, that was a huge shift. And by the way, I didn't even get to tell you this. I had a follow-up with my cardiologist today, and my crazy high triglycerides are back within normal range, and my whole lipid panel, I got a gold star. She was like, I'm here for my gold star. She's like, well, let me look. And then she looked up at me and she went, all right, you get your gold star.
Jen, do you remember what I said about cholesterol when you first joined the program?
Yes.
What did I say? I love it when people agree with me or the proof is in the pudding. What did I say?
You said it has nothing to do with the fats or anything other than sugar, and that sugar is the driver of cholesterol.
Yes. And I said I could have renamed this program, Transform Your Cardiovascular Disease Naturally. And I can tell you guys that at the end of this program, go ahead and retest your numbers, okay? And then celebrate in the alumni group. Tell people in interviews what happened to your cholesterol. It's a byproduct of everything that we do in the program. The 5 pillars of the program actually decreases the inflammation that's causing high cholesterol and cardiovascular disease. And I'm like, don't take my word for it. Tell me what your results are in the alumni group. And like the alumni group is filled with people saying, oh, my triglycerides.
So I got my little Quest thing, and I pulled up my little Quest Lab thing, and they have color-coded bars. And my main cholesterol number was green for the first time that I can ever remember this week. It was 175. I'd still like it to be a little lower, but it was green.
See,
it was awesome.
You didn't expect that outcome, did you?
That wasn't why I was here.
That wasn't even one of your requests.
It was not on the wish list.
I'm like, Jeannie, I like this.
For your wishes here.
Maybe I should ask you, what were your 3 wishes?
but I mean, it was really amazing. And then it all sort of kind of compounds on itself, because like I struggle with exercise because of my EDS. It's a real struggle because my joints don't stay in.
Yeah.
So I actually mainly do Pilates and I walk in a pool. But my fatigue and everything else, I wasn't, I was kind of getting it done 2-3 days a week. And now I'm like out of bed in the morning, like, can I go to the pool now? Like, I want to be doing it because I feel well enough to do it.
I feel like almost a kid and you got back out.
Well, you know what happens in the pool too? Is that I listen to books or podcasts and nobody talks to me or asks for anything for a whole 45 minutes. It's the best.
I love that. What do you think was your favorite part about working with me?
Wow, what a loaded question.
I know.
Now we go back to this analytical lawyer brain thing, because as much as like there weren't all the answers, or like there was data and there was numbers and there was explanations for things, and the explanations made sense. So I liked a lot of different components of it, but for me it was actually some of the deeper module work that was explaining the why behind some of this.
Well, mindset is huge for me. And one of the mindset principles that's really important for me is when you truly know your why, when you truly understand the why, the how becomes easy. And yet everyone's always focusing on the how and they don't know the why. And for me, the biggest part of the programs, I actually educate everyone on their why.
Well, yeah, because like tell me to not eat that cookie.
No.
Like I knew to not eat that cookie. I knew to not eat that cookie for the past 30 years.
Yeah.
That didn't stop me from eating the cookies. And I'm not saying I'll never eat another cookie again, but I understand what the cookie does and how and when to eat it and what it means and that it's special and all of those things.
And
that's
choice.
huge. Yeah.
It becomes a choice.
Yeah.
When I want to, I can, but it's like, I understand why I don't want to either. I'm making a choice because now I know the why. And I also know the exact results or consequence that's going to happen as a result of it. I'm linking symptoms with cause, with cause, then you have choice. And that's the ultimate power when you know exactly cause and effect, and then you make choices.
Yes, exactly.
What was most surprising about the program that really brought a lot of impact? Like you just shocked, like I didn't even think I needed that. And booyah, that was huge.
I have a food intolerance to cinnamon.
It's healthy. What do you mean?
Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Like really high level intolerance to cinnamon. It's like, what? For years, I was convinced that the Starbucks sugar-free pumpkin lattes, they were lying and there was gluten in them.
Because you were getting sick.
Because I was getting so sick every time. I was utterly convinced. I checked the label 17 times. I loved them, but I wanted to not get sick from them, but I got sick from them every single time. And now I know why.
This is where data is king. I'm just telling you, that's a Dr. Maggie rule. Data is king. I don't know why the hell, I really don't know. Well, I do know why people just go on these general elimination diets, because there's all these false medical claims and it's a list that can get right off the internet. But it's so deprivational. It doesn't give you any data and it often makes people more sick, or it's like a temporary fix and then they get more sick later. Big problems. And the thing is, why aren't people doing, well, I know why they're not doing food mapping, because nobody does it except for us. So for me, food mapping is crucial for people with autoimmune disease, because then we literally have a blood test that I actually teach the why behind the results so people understand how to accurately understand the results and how to apply it to them. And then you start to make sense of it, everything that's happened to you, and you get results. Like I'm telling you right now, if you drank that same latte and tell them hold the cinnamon, you're not going to have the same reaction now.
True. There's no question. And cinnamon's kind of like everywhere. And that was there was a lot of stuff that I was eating that was healthy that had cinnamon in it. It's just in a lot of things.
And now how easy it is, now that you know it's cinnamon, to be almost pain-free for the past 3 weeks. And just to know I'm looking for cinnamon. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for cinnamon in ingredient list. How easy is that compared to living in pain every single day since puberty?
Yeah. And all of the other things that I tried. I did a lot of things that were super destructive, like in trying to fix things, and they were.
Well, the other thing too is with these elimination diets, sometimes people are eating more of the very food that causes them problems when they don't have the data. So they actually can make themselves worse on an elimination diet.
I can see that.
Yeah. Okay.
Cinnamon probably would have shown up as allowed.
Question. Why did you almost not join the program? When you were looking into us, why did you almost not join it?
Time. I was afraid of making the time commitment. I got a lot going on. It was a serious, I spent a lot of time on medical stuff, and I'm running a business. I got these kids, and it's a constant juggling act. And it was like, all right, am I really ready to give? And I may not have been the best. I took 3 or 4 hours a week, maybe not 10, but am I really ready to give 3 or 4 hours a week additional to my health for something that I don't know if it's going to work or not.
Well, you did it, first of all.
Well, first of all, I did do it.
And it was about 3-4 hours a week.
I did it about 3 or 4 hours a week. It was, and I did it not at the same time. Like I had the most amazing pod, and they would be like, yeah, so I took this time in the middle of like a weekday afternoon, and I was like, are you kidding me? A lot of it was done in bed. A lot of it was done, some of it was in, weekend marathon sessions and stuff like that. But I made the time, and I committed to, I think probably the most important thing for me that you said early on in the program was to consume it 1 week at a time.
Yep.
And so I did that, which kind of helped to chunk it down a little bit, because I tend to want to, when I invest myself in something, I want to go full bore, all in, all at once.
It's exactly for an impatient person like you that I basically bitch slapped you.
Yeah, it happened. And your voice was in my head, and I was like, nope, you're going to stop. But that stop was usually, at 11 when it was time to go to bed too. Because I did sort of fit it into the cracks. Your voice was in my head in that pool while I was walking, literally in my head, like through your conduction head.
So it sounded like, so basically it was incredibly flexible when you were able to do 3 to 4 hours a week of this work. So this is an interesting question. You said you couldn't make the time, or you couldn't afford to make additional time to do this. Now that you see you've done the process and you have the results, could you afford not to spend time to do this?
No. I mean, and that sort of, it took a little bit of a leap of faith. Like I obviously created that time. And I'm so thankful to myself of, 6 months ago when I decided to join the program for having done that, because the amount of time that I've gotten back in my life because I'm not in severe pain or having a migraine or whatever way outpaces the amount of time that was invested. Yeah.
Like, what is the price of quality time? Like, is it like to be able to like laugh with your kids, engage with your kids, laugh with your husband, have a healthy relationship with your partner, have Mr. Incredible make you cauliflower gnocchi? Like, what is is that worth the investment of 3 hours or 3-4 hours a week over a 10-week time frame?
Yeah, a little bit. More than a little bit. Very much worth it.
And this is for the rest of your freaking life.
Yeah.
It's an investment of 3-4 hours a week over a 10-week time frame for time that's quality for the rest of your life. I think that's the best investment on dollar ever.
Not going to hear me disagree.
All right. Who would you recommend this program to?
Any human. I'm not even kidding. I keep trying to get my husband to do it. He's fine. He doesn't have any sort of autoimmune or chronic illness. But there's nothing in it that's bad for you. Like, everything is improving general health in addition to everything else. And there's so much. I mean, we talked about this. I'm an academic person, and I've been plugged in nutritionally and everything else for forever. Like, I've always known the things, but I learned so much about just health and well-roundedness in it. It sort of up there with therapy now in my mind. My dad always taught me that therapy, there's just a line, and the question was not if you needed it, but if you could afford it. Right? Like, above or below the line. I think there's nothing in this program that I learned that I don't think is universally applicable. Nothing.
You know what I really loved? My favorite part of having you in our program over the last couple months?
What?
I like you.
Oh, thank you.
I love your spunk. I love your can-do. And as a fellow business owner and woman and mother, it's been just so incredible to watch your journey the last 2 months. Like, I feel like it's almost like it was like a metamorphosis. And every week I saw more joy, more energy, more gratitude. It's like you got to the point where it's almost like your cup overfloweth.
I think that's true. I think that's very true. And there's so much more. Like, there's always more to do.
You have
more fun, more to do, more to learn.
Yeah, you just have an incredibly infectious personality, and I like you. It's like I love
too.
You know what I like? I like having the ability in our program to actually choose who we work with. We really take care to really choose the right candidates and make sure it's a good fit. Like, for me, whenever someone comes into our program, it's a huge personal investment of my life into that person and working with that person. There's got to be synergy and fit and faith and trust.
Yeah. And you know what? I think probably in some ways a better answer to your question before. I mean, I do think that there's something in this for everybody. But I also think that you have to really want to be better.
Yes.
And that's huge. because there's nothing you're going to teach anybody either that if they're not going to believe that it's going to work and invest themselves in getting better.
This reminds me, it's off topic a little bit, but it reminds me of a story that made me really sad. It was a naturopathic physician that was on one of our, calls with our team and talking, and it happened to be me actually, because sometimes I'm on the calls, most of the time it's the other members of the team. It happened to be me, and naturopath was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis and was told that she had 6 months to live. And she really needed this program. And I knew that I could help tremendously. But I asked the question, I was like, are you coachable? Because that's the thing, are you hungry to learn? Are you open to learning? Are you coachable? And then the eyes said, I am the authority on herbal and natural medicine. So there's nothing that you or anyone could teach me about natural herbal medicine that I don't already know. And my answer to that was, you're right. You're right. Because if you come in with that mindset that I know everything there is to know, and there's nothing anyone else can teach me about this, you're coming in closed. You're not open. You're not leading with curiosity. You could have the best teacher on the planet. You could even have something that will save your life, in which case it will happen. But if she says there's no way anyone can teach me anything about this, that's like saying I'm not open to learning, and I'm not open to, she wasn't really open to doing what it takes to get better, because she's going to have to think, if she knew it all, why isn't she better? There's obviously things she didn't know that she needed to learn to save her own life. So that was a tough one. That was a tough one where it was not a good fit, because she was right. There is nothing anyone could teach her about it because she wasn't open to it. So you're right. I think that I love working with people who are open, curious, and is willing to actually trust the process. And you said in the beginning of this interview that you're a skeptic. And I think I invite skeptics, because healthy skepticism is wonderful. And I think it's great. And I think really, if you're a skeptic, which you should be, look for proof. Look for proof. And this is why real people, real outcomes, real interviews is what we do. We are at 120 plus interviews at this point. So, come on, bring it on, you skeptics. But if you're open and curious, then we got something huge for you. Well, thank you for your time. That was incredible. I really appreciate your sharing your generosity with me and our audience, and giving away all your secret sauce.
It's your secret sauce. My pleasure.
Thank you.